Hey everybody, I'm Ashleigh Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious. Welcome to the Vermont Outpost. It's nice to have you here. If you've been a part of our podcast for a while, thank you. If you're brand new, thank you, and hit subscribe. It is great. We so appreciate it. All of our subscribers, but also all of our members. You guys have been amazing, and thank you so much for your support. It means everything. When you're an independent journalist like this, it means the world. So, little different story tonight. If you've been following the saga of a young woman named Laken Snelling, young University of Kentucky cheerleader, you may remember that back in September 2025, Ms. Snelling found herself in a world of hurt. And that's because her roommates, housemates she was living with, found something in her closet. It was a dead baby. It was Laken's dead baby. And that baby was wrapped up and stuffed in the closet, presumably to hide the fact that there was a baby at any time. And we've got a lot to update you on because here we are 7 months later, and I was sort of wondering, wow, where is that case? And wouldn't you know it, big update dropped, and it turns out, yeah, we have been waiting a while. But it's an update that I don't think Laken Snelling wanted to hear. It does not bode well for her. And I'm going to get to all the details in just a minute, but I want to just get you up to speed on the details of the case because I almost forgot a few of them because it's been so long, right? Let me take you all the way back to August 27th, again, 2025, last summer. Police got a phone call. And they were dispatched to an off-campus home near the University of Kentucky in Lexington. And the words from the dispatch were, I guess, chilling is one way to describe it, but just very disturbing. A dead baby in the closet, cold to the touch. That's what they were told. So officers get there to the house that they're sent to, and they go to the bedroom that they're told to go to, and they open the closet door that they're told to open. And what they find inside is what no officer is ever prepared for. A black trash bag. It's Laken Snelling's bedroom. It's her closet. And inside the trash bag, they find used cleaning supplies. They find bloody rags. And in amongst all of that, they find the body of a newborn infant, not alive. And according to the police, Laken Snelling admitted that she had given birth alone in that bedroom. She had cleaned up everything that had happened, cleaned up the scene alone, and had placed everything, the supplies, the blood, the baby's body, into that trash bag. So obviously, Laken was arrested and she was charged. But the charges were odd at the time. A lot of people were wondering, where's the murder charge? But there was no murder charge. There was still a lot of investigation to do to figure out what happened in that bedroom. Ms. Snelling was charged with abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and concealing the birth of an infant. But they're serious enough charges, right? And they set her bond at $100,000. But she was able to post it, or her family, whoever it was, they posted it. And she was released to house arrest at her parents' homes in Jefferson City, Tennessee, but they live separately. Mom and dad live separately. So according to court documents, Laken claimed that she delivered this baby and was awake for about a half hour after giving birth. But then she says she passed out, and that she passed out right on top of the newborn baby. She says when she came to, she could see that the infant was, quote, turning blue and purple, end quote. And believing that the baby had died, Laken admitted that she had wrapped the baby up, quote, like a burrito, quote, because it, quote, gave her comfort, end quote. And yet in those same documents, those court documents, Laken also admitted that the baby showed, quote, a little fetal movement, end quote. Very strange thing to say. But then she also mentioned that the baby gave a faint whimper when he was born. That's going to matter a lot. Wait for it. It's coming. Instead of dialing 911 or yelling out to her roommates, help me, I'm in trouble and I need help, she did none of those things. She, like she said, wrapped everything up and put it in the garbage bag and put it in her closet and then left the house. And what she did next is the subject of a lot of consternation. People are not happy when they hear this detail. She went to McDonald's and got some food and ate that food. Now, before you pass judgment, know this. Anyone who's ever given birth, when you finally get through it all, many of us, maybe not all, but certainly me, you're starving. You have been through hell. You have run a marathon. You are starving. There's really no other way to put it. And all the hospitals know it, and they bring it. They bring the food to you. So for those who are passing judgment, maybe this is the only place where she could get food and she was so hungry and feeling weak. It's possible, right? So it might sound awful. I'm just going to go to McD's, get something to eat. The other side of that coin is that I'm starving and this is the closest place and it's a drive-through, and she had a car. So after McDonald's, she then stopped by the campus health clinic. But from all the reports, it looks like she just stayed there, parked, did not go inside, and instead decided not to go inside and to go to class. Her roommates ultimately went into her room and looked in the closet, and that's where they found the baby. I want to read to you this section here, part of the court documents. And I want to read directly from them, but you better brace yourself. It's kind of hard to listen to this. It's pretty triggering for, I think, a lot of people too. Quote, Ms. Snelling stated that around 4 a.m. she gave birth to a baby which fell into the floor of her bedroom. Ms. Snelling stated that she didn't think the baby was breathing or was alive. Ms. Snelling advised that she was awake for around 30 minutes after giving birth before falling on top of the baby. Ms. Snelling said that when she woke up from passing out, she quickly got up and observed the baby turning blue and purple. And before I go on, I should say to you, many times these are the words of reporting officers, right? They're called affiants. This affiant witnessed this, and this affiant saw this. And a lot of times these are the words of officers. And so it's their prose, right? It's their prose, it's their writing of their experience. And I have seen police reports and affidavits before that were just appalling, like so many errors and just the wrong way to describe something in ways that are far more indicting of the person than what the person actually said. So just take this with a grain of salt. This is the recollections of an officer and what the officer is writing. I will continue. Laken said that she believed the baby to be dead and wrapped the baby up like a burrito and laid next to it in the floor because it gave her a little comfort in the moment. I'm not 100% sure if Leighton used the it or if the officer used the it, but the baby is referred to in it. We know the baby is a boy. Ms. Snelling said that she was woken up by her alarm at 7:30 a.m. for class at 9:30. Ms. Snelling said that she noticed that she was still bloody and needed to get a shower. Ms. Snelling said that she went to the kitchen to get a black trash bag. Ms. Snelling said that she placed the baby, which was still wrapped up inside of the towel, inside of the black trash bag and placed the black trash bag in the closet. Ms. Snelling said that she went and took a shower to clean up. Ms. Snelling said that after taking the shower, she came back into her room and started to clean up the rest of the blood. Ms. Snelling said that she used paper towels and the towel she had wrapped the baby in to clean up the rest of the blood. Ms. Snelling said that she placed the placenta inside of a Ziploc bag and placed it inside of the black trash bag. Ms. Snelling said she wrapped the baby back up with the towel that she had cleaned the rest of the blood up with. Ms. Snelling stated she then placed the black trash bag back into the closet and shut the door. Ms. Snelling stated that she left her residence after this and went to school. Laken, interesting, they switched from Ms. Snelling to Laken here, but just once. Laken stated that she did not go into class, but sat in her vehicle in the parking lot. Ms. Snelling stated that she wasn't feeling well, so she ordered McDonald's through the McDonald's app. Ms. Snelling said that after getting McDonald's, she went to the University of Kentucky's student clinic, where she also did not go inside. After this, Ms. Snelling stated she returned home, where she was detained and transported to headquarters for questioning. It should be noted, and again, this is still quoting from the from the court documents. It should be noted that when speaking to medical staff at the University of Kentucky Labor and Delivery, she stated that the baby had a little bit of fetal movement, but passed out shortly after. So syntax is everything here. This is the officer's wording, that the baby had a little bit of fetal movement. Laken might have said, I think I saw the baby move or an eye move, but this is the wording of the officer, had a little bit of fetal movement. And then the syntax is, but passed out shortly after. Is that the baby passed out or Laken Snelling passed out? I think it's Laken Snelling, but it's hard to tell from the way this is written because, again, these are not often written perfectly. And there can be syntax problems that can lead to misunderstandings later on. I saw that in Duke Lacrosse as well, a terrible, terrible affidavit that was written by an officer. Terrible. Ms. Snelling stated during her questioning by myself and Detective Martinez that the only time she passed out was around 30 minutes after giving birth, which leads me to believe that the baby could have been moving. So the officer talking. Ms. Snelling also told medical staff that the baby made a, quote, whimper, end quote, and that she, quote, guessed, quote, the baby was alive. All right, that's the end of the quoting directly from, the court documents. But search warrants of Laken Snelling's cell phone actually revealed some interesting stuff. Some deleted pregnancy searches that included pregnancy hashtags for different weeks of being pregnant on Facebook and labor photos and other evidence that investigators say point to a concealed pregnancy. The court documents go on to say that there were photos of Laken, quote, during labor, and photos of her doing things ordinary pregnant women would not be doing, end quote. And get this, again, this is a quote. The photos that were taken while she was in labor were deleted in an attempt to hide the birth. So I'm just going to jump in here because I believe it's possible that Laken Snelling was giving birth alone and could not see beyond her own belly and didn't know what was happening and may have used her phone to videotape or photograph the stage that she was in, or if the head was crowning or whether the baby was coming out, and then could see what was going on. If you say as a prosecutor she deleted them to conceal evidence of the birth, I could see a defense attorney saying she deleted them because she didn't want anyone to see this part of her. She was using it as a mirror, so to speak, but she didn't want anyone to ever see that. So I could see an argument against that charge, right, that she's facing. Concealment. Hiding the birth. Could be seen two different ways. So if you think all of that is bad, there's more, so buckle up here. Detectives interviewed all of Laken Snelling's roommates, and one of them, a girl named Erin Hamilton, told the police that everyone in the house used a Snapchat group, and the chat was called The Trap at Park. For whatever reason, that's what they named it. And the affidavit goes on to say that in the early morning hours of August 27th, about 4 o'clock in the morning, one of the roommates messaged that whole group that she heard loud noises, like something had fallen. And another roommate said that she heard it too, and that the impact was so strong it actually knocked a picture off of her wall. That is a lot. One roommate said the noises went on for about a half an hour. At 8:48 a.m. that next morning, Laken texted the group saying those noises were caused by her fainting. She told her roommates that she hadn't been feeling well, hadn't eaten, and had passed out. She added that she was going to see a doctor. At 8:48 a.m., that's the next morning, Laken texted the entire group on Snapchat saying the noises that they heard were caused by her fainting. She told her roommates that she hadn't been feeling well, that she hadn't eaten, and that she'd passed out. She added that she was going to see a doctor. It's important that she is contemporaneously saying to her roommates, just within hours of this baby being born, that she passed out, right? Because her argument in court is going to be, I passed out and smothered the baby. I didn't kill the baby, I passed out on the baby. And she has contemporaneous reporting from just hours after it happened, that she told her roommate she passed out the night before. Now, I don't know if this is after hours of Laken Snelling sitting there thinking, well, gosh, if I ever get in trouble for this and there's asphyxiation and I need to have a reason for asphyxiating, I better tell everybody I passed out on the baby and smothered the baby. Well, I'm not so sure, because I think what Laken Snelling might have been doing was putting the baby in a garbage bag to get rid of the baby and never ever tell anyone she was pregnant. So this is going to be huge for her defense attorney to be able to say, hey, you all think she's making this up for the police? She told her roommates that morning that the noise they heard was her passing out. And she told police later she actually passed out on the baby. So it's something her defense attorney is going to be able to seize on. Regardless of what she told her roommates, the roommates weren't convinced about this, and they were very curious about what had happened in that bedroom to have all that noise at 4 a.m. So they went into Laken's room, and what they found there was horrifying. Shocking. They found a blood-soaked towel on the floor. They found a plastic bag containing evidence of childbirth. And when they opened the closet, they found the body of a newborn baby boy placed in bags. The affidavit notes that the baby appeared to be full term. That roommate, Erin Hamilton, also told investigators that all of the roommates actually suspected that Laken might have been pregnant, but wasn't admitting it. So fast forward to today. And it is March 11th. I am recording this podcast March 11th, 2026. And the world of hurt that I referred to at the top of the episode just hit her full force, because it turns out that that newborn baby was in fact born alive. That's what the autopsies are saying. Yeah. The baby's autopsy report determined that the infant's cause of death was asphyxia by undetermined means. That's important. Undetermined means. It's never easy in a court case when you have undetermined means. Not impossible, but not easy. You don't have the answer as to what it was that asphyxiated that baby. The doctors couldn't tell. Coroner couldn't tell. That's not going to be easy. But the biggest development that we just learned about Laken Snelling was that a grand jury has added a manslaughter charge to her case, a first-degree manslaughter charge. And you might know that she was already facing abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, concealing the birth of an infant, right? They said, remember her phone, she deleted the pictures, concealing. Well, maybe she wasn't concealing it. Maybe she was deleting the pictures because she didn't want anyone to see them, because, that's my business. So that could be argued as well. The indictment was reported on March 10th. And by March 11th, an arrest warrant had been issued for Laken Snelling. All right, and I want to read you that language in the indictment for that count, for count one, manslaughter in the first degree. It says, manslaughter first degree when, with intent to cause serious physical injury to the infant, she caused the death of the infant, or with the intent to cause the death of the infant under circumstances which do not constitute murder, because she acted under the influence of extreme emotional disturbance or through circumstances not otherwise constituting the offense of murder. She intentionally abused the infant and thereby caused death to a person 12 years of age or less, or who is physically helpless or mentally helpless. In Kentucky, manslaughter in the first degree is punishable by 10 to 20 years in prison. So it's very, very serious, you know. This episode is brought to you by Wild Grain. If you love really good fresh bread, but you don't have time to hunt down a bakery, this is honestly one of the easiest food subscriptions I've tried. Wild Grain sends baked from frozen sourdough breads, pastries, and even fresh pasta straight to your door. Everything is made with simple ingredients that you can actually pronounce, so it tastes incredible and it's easier on your tummy. Best part is you just pop it in the oven, no thawing, no prep, and in about 25 minutes, your kitchen smells like a bakery. And don't just take my word for it. They have over 40,000 five-star reviews and have been voted the best food subscription box by USA Today for 3 years in a row. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering my listeners $30 off your first box plus free croissants for life when you go to wildgrain.com/Banfield to start your subscription today. That's $30 off your first box and free croissants for life at wildgrain.com/Banfield, or just use the promo code Banfield at checkout. For that reason, I called Abby Escobar. Abby knows a lot about this case. She is a digital journalist. She has a very popular TikTok account called Abby Blabby True Crime and News. And not only has she been following this case, she also knows a lot about this kind of an alleged crime. Why do I say that? Well, here's the conversation I had with her earlier. So, Abby, why do you think it took so long to indict the Laken Snelling case?
You know what? I really don't know. This whole time I've been wondering, is the autopsy report back? Because remember, the first one was inconclusive and then they had to do further testing, but it's been months since that inconclusive report came out. So I don't know how long the testing took, if they just got it back, within the past few days, or if they've had that result for a while now and they just chose to sit on it. But I think it definitely has something to do with that autopsy report and being able to prove that she did, allegedly, of course, kill the baby after he was born.
So, what was the biggest surprise when you saw the actual indictment?
I think the biggest surprise to me was that they chose to charge her with first-degree manslaughter and not with murder. And it said on there because she was going through something about emotional distress or emotional disturbances, but they had found evidence on her phone when they searched it that she allegedly had knowledge that she was pregnant and had done searches regarding pregnancy. So I don't really know how, if she really knew she was pregnant, why they would allow her to get a manslaughter charge and not murder because she was going through, some sort of emotional crisis.
Well, that's surprising to me as well. And I'm curious about first degree manslaughter. I mean, do you have any knowledge about Kentucky and how unique that particular charge is, what the elements are, and why that might pertain or not pertain to Laken Snelling's situation?
I really don't know. The only thing I know about it is that it's a Class B felony. And if she's convicted of it, she faces between 10 and 20 years in prison.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Typically, were you thinking that it might actually be a murder charge that they come up with in the grand jury?
I did. But, at the same time, it's been so long, I feel like, that I was starting to feel like this entire case was just getting swept under the rug. So even though it wasn't a murder charge, I'm glad that they're at least charging her with manslaughter, because I feel like a lot of times in these types of situations, the women don't really get, significant charges anyway.
Well, here we are, 7 months since that baby died, and we're just now sort of moving along with the process. I guess it's so difficult because there are only two people in the room, the mother and the child, right? And so much can go wrong during childbirth. It truly can. Even in a hospital, so much can go wrong. And so it's very, very difficult to determine what exactly happened and whether there was premeditation. Because for murder, you've got to have the premeditation, meaning as soon as this baby's born, I'm going to make, this problem go away. And I guess the one thing I'm interested in is the autopsy says that there was asphyxiation, but they don't know how.
Yes. And I'm wondering how they figured that out. I'm wondering if there was maybe bruising across his neck or chest or something. But at the same time, she told them that she passed out and fell directly on top of the baby, but somehow they were able to determine it was not the result of a fall, that it was asphyxiation. So I'm really wondering how they found that out.
Well, you can asphyxiate on your own vomit or your own fluids. And I wonder just about the child's mouth, because, when a baby is born, they suction the fluids, the birth fluids out of the mouth. And maybe that child, maybe they're considering the possibility that this child aspirated those fluids, and that's asphyxiation as well. But this, I think, is the quandary about this particular case and what prosecutors thought they may or may not be able to convince a jury of.
Right.
I'm really curious about the people who may be a part of this case, because she had multiple roommates. I don't know why 5 comes to mind, but there were a lot of roommates, female roommates in the house where she was living.
Maybe 3?
3 was it?
3 maybe.
And they were the ones who discovered the baby, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. They had suspicions that she was pregnant because after they came back to school that fall semester, in August, after having the summer off, in most pregnancies, I feel like you grow the most in the last trimester. So that would have been over the summer. So I heard that the roommates noticed a very big change, and not just her belly, but when you're
Everything.
pregnant, your face and your hips widen and just kind of everything. And so they had suspicions that she was pregnant. And then, that morning there was a lot of noise and, just kind of odd things. And I guess after she left for class, they got suspicious and they snooped in her room, and that's when they found the baby.
Oh, I can't even
I
imagine what
I
that
know.
discovery would be like.
Seeing a deceased baby in a trash bag. I mean, that would be an image that I don't think I could ever get out of my mind.
And we've had babies, so I mean, we
Right.
at least have some knowledge of what things can look like. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine kids in their, early 20s or late teens coming across this.
Yeah.
It's just not what they would ever expect.
No, absolutely not.
So presumably they would be witnesses in this case, the housemates, maybe the actual housemates who discovered the baby,
Mhm.
and maybe housemates who just heard things overnight.
Yeah, probably all of them. And I'm not going to lie to you. It was pretty early on in this case. I actually reached out to one of her roommates and asked if she would like to talk, if she would interview with me, anything. And she was very sweet, but she explained that they're just so traumatized and so much shock from what they saw. She was like, I'm sorry, but I just cannot talk about it. It is too traumatic. And of course, I fully understood that because that would be traumatic
Yeah.
for anybody.
Well, you listen, yeah, I mean, not just the discovery, but then
Mhm.
also your friend is in the
Right.
criminal justice system right now, facing a possibility of being locked up for decades. And this is just not, this was
Mhm.
not on their bingo card.
No, that's another thing. You think somebody, and you think this person would never do this. But, I'm really glad that they followed through on those suspicions because Laken might have came home later that afternoon or the evening, and she might have, taken out the trash, because the baby was in a trash bag, and nobody there. I mean, there's a chance that nobody would have found out had they not gone in that room. And it makes me wonder how many times things like this happen that just never get discovered.
Lots, trust me.
I'm sure.
Listen, I think, gosh, I have to go back and count now, but I think this might be my fourth or fifth or sixth story of young moms concealing the birth of their children and being charged with murdering
Yeah.
their newborns. It doesn't always happen, though. I mean, many of the ones I've covered have not been convicted of that again because you have to be very specific. Again, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not I think you did something. It
Right.
sure looks hinky. That's not the standard in court. And childbirth is a very, very difficult thing especially when you're by yourself.
I
All the
can't
things that can go
imagine.
wrong when
I
you're
can't
alone,
imagine.
just the umbilical cord and the
Yeah.
suctioning of the mouth and the starting of the
Hmm.
breathing. Did Lakin at one point say, I think I remember this, that she could hear the baby whimper or hear the
Yeah.
baby make a sound?
Yep. She stated at the hospital, and she told the police that when the baby came out that he did whimper. So she admitted right then and there that he was born alive. Um, I think the burden, of course, is that they had to prove that he's no longer alive because of something that she did. But yeah, she admitted, and it's in the police report that she told them that he whimpered, and then she passed out about half an hour after he was born, and conveniently landed directly on top of the baby. And then when she came to, the baby was blue and purple, and she thought he was dead. So that's when she made that comment about wrapping him up like a burrito. She said I wrapped him up like a burrito and then I laid next to it. She said because it gave her comfort in that moment. She called the baby
Mhm.
it. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, gosh, there's just such a disconnect. And
yeah.
that's frequent with cases like this. I feel like, with um who was the cheerleader? There was Alexi Treviso, there was Brooke Skylar Richardson, and so many others. There's a complete disconnect, and I think Alexi Treviso called her baby it as well.
I think that that's probably disassociation and normal for a lot of these young
Yeah.
moms, these teenage moms, etc. Listen, and I know people will jump all over me for showing compassion, but unless you've walked in those shoes, it's pretty hard to judge what a young person who's all alone is going through and what she decides to do. It's a very, I mean, it's an awful thing. It is illegal. It is murder. It can be murder. Not saying that for this particular case, but what's the intent? I don't think you can ascribe the intent being the same for all of these young women, these teenagers, these moms. But in this particular case, it feels like they're going to have to really kind of establish an element of negligence, or I don't think recklessness, because at this point, I don't think you're at a level with manslaughter of reckless, but
Yeah.
a negligence, meaning you had this baby, you knew you were having this baby, and you passed out. I mean, I guess if you pass out medically, you don't have any control over that. But I think that may be the linchpin in this case, where they can say to the jury, this child may have asphyxiated because of the passing out. And who's going to say, oh, you'd never pass out after giving birth?
Right, right. Absolutely. But I think another question that's going to get brought up is, she said that she passed out about 30 minutes after the baby was born. So I think the question is, what was happening during those 30 minutes? Why didn't you call 911 for help? Why didn't you holler out for one of your roommates? She allegedly, per the police report, had her phone out and was taking pictures during childbirth. So your phone was right there. Why didn't you call somebody? So I think that's going to be a very valid point too, is that she didn't pass out, allegedly, according to what she said, for half an hour. So there was time, if she was feeling weak or lightheaded or anything like that, there was time to get help, and she chose, for whatever reason, not to get it.
Yeah, that's going to be really hard to explain away, those 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Although I keep coming back to, look, I've been through childbirth twice, and I had all the first world trappings. I had an epidural for the
Oh
first one
yeah.
before anything really got crazy, and I had an epidural about an hour into the worst hell I've ever been through for
Yeah.
the
Right.
second one. And I was also close to 40, pretty
Mhm.
well informed about everything. I'd seen all my friends and family all having babies. And so she's not me, and I cannot imagine what it would be like to be in your bedroom by yourself at this, what, she 20, 21? I mean, just so
21.
young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And go through this with no painkillers, no knowledge of really what's happening. I believe that's why the phone came out, because she couldn't see. And the
Mm-hmm.
only way you can see, I bring my phone out all the time. Just what I can't see, I use my phone to see for
Yeah.
me.
Or like
And
use
that's
it
what I
like a
believe she may have
mirror.
been doing. But imagine the terror and the fear. And maybe once that relief happens, that when the baby's born, 30 minutes isn't very long to sort of catch your breath and figure out what's just
That's
happened.
that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and it'll be interesting if it does go to trial. It'll be interesting what the defense says, and if Laken were to get up on the stand herself and tell people her side of things. Um, I don't think it would go to trial. I think there would probably be a plea deal offered, but I mean, who knows? It's obviously very early still into this case, especially with this brand new indictment.
Well, that's an interesting prospect you bring up, a plea deal. Um, what do you think? I mean, first degree manslaughter, 10 to 20,
Well,
okay.
yeah,
But what do you think would be acceptable to
like
a
a lesser.
prosecutor a prosecutor who doesn't maybe have everything? You don't have
Yeah.
video, you don't have absolute truths of what happened in that room.
Hmm.
Do you think that they would have to accept an element of prison time from her, or no deal?
I really wonder because, like you said, there were only two people in that room that day. So I think, I think that even if the prosecution has this document from the medical examiner saying that the cause of the baby's death was asphyxiation and that he was born alive, I mean, people argue autopsies all the time. I mean, we've seen
Mm.
court cases where they bring in multiple people and they all give a different cause of death, different ways that it happened. So I think that could possibly be argued. And I think that the prosecutors really, I see them having a difficult time proving the case. So it might come down to them being like, well, hey, let's get her on something, you
Something.
know?
Yeah.
Like, so,
I could see a jury. I could see a jury acquitting only because of a good defense attorney who
yeah,
says, you don't know from this autopsy what the asphyxiation was. You don't even know
right,
how this baby, you know,
right.
asphyxiated. It could have been anything. It could have actually been re-aspirating something. And sure, maybe the child made sounds, but then, I mean,
Hmm.
I've choked on my lemonade enough as a grown adult that
Right.
I know it can be really, really difficult. And oh, I remember my son choking on a little piece of Cheerio and I nearly died. Called 911, paramedics came,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and they told me, and I hope everybody listening right now spreads this story far and wide. They said it is the number one call we get as paramedics for babies,
Hmm.
Cheerios. And we all think you
Gosh,
give your
that's
baby
crazy.
Cheerios because they got a hole in the middle and they
Yeah.
can breathe. Bullshit.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Tiny
lie.
little.
The opening of a newborn or even a little baby's
Like their esophagus.
breathing.
Oh, their
Well,
airway. Their
no,
airway.
the airway
Hmm.
is it's tinier than like the wedge of a pencil. It's so small. And so a tiny piece of Cheerio broken off is enough
Gonna lodge it. Yep.
for them to choke. And so
Yeah.
it's very, very little, you know, the
Hmm.
breathing tube is very, very little for a baby and a droplet of, you know, amniotic fluid, whatever it is that might still be in the baby's
Hmm.
mouth could have
Or
done it.
meconium. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think these are the conversations. And here we are. We're not even medical professionals, we're just journalists,
Well,
you know,
I'm a nurse.
bandying about. What, you're what?
I'm a nurse.
Stop it.
I've been
You're a nurse.
RN, yeah, for 15 years.
Well, there you go, friends.
Yeah.
I got the right guest for many
Oh
reasons.
yeah. Dad's a doctor, mom's a nurse, my boyfriend's a critical care pulmonologist. We're all medical over here.
So you
Yeah.
know how many things can go wrong, right?
Yeah, and I yes, and I was told, and I don't remember if this was in the police report or not, but I remember hearing that after Laken was detained and she asked to go to the hospital to be evaluated, which they of course allowed because she was postpartum. I was told that her hemoglobin level was low and that she needed to get a blood transfusion. And when your hemoglobin is low, it can cause a number of things, including
Passing
shortness
out.
of breath, lightheadedness, and passing out. So that's another thing that the defense can really elaborate on. That hey, she told police she passed out, and the hemoglobin level was low. So there's a very good chance that she really did pass out.
Yeah, well,
But then of
listen,
course she got up and she went to cleaned up and cleaned up and then drove to McDonald's and did all those things. So that's something that the prosecution of course could argue, well, if your hemoglobin's low, it's not just going to go up on its own. So if you passed out, then how are you able to do all of these other things? So there's going to be very, very good and valid arguments from both sides if it ends up going there.
well, then, you know, for that very reason, and again, I'm not weighing in one way or the other whether Laken is guilty of this or not, but I just see so many things that the defense can
Mhm.
use and the
Mhm.
prosecutors, but
Mhm.
in the end, you got to convince just 12
Yes.
people that, you
Yep.
know, they're not experts and they're just listening to the different arguments and then they're told
Right.
reasonable doubt, not all shadow of a doubt,
Mhm.
but reasonable doubt. And that is a really difficult bar. It is a very difficult bar. So I could see prosecutors saying she'd get a full acquittal
Yeah. We
based
don't
on what
have
we
enough.
got here.
We don't have
Yeah.
enough. Absolutely. Yeah. And the prosecution, they have to convince 12 people, but a defense attorney, at least to get a mistrial, one person, that's all. Yep. So,
And a mistrial's a win for now, but you know, you still have to face the piper.
oh, yeah.
But the ultimate deal is that like I had this is very far tangential reference here, but my godmother was murdered, and her husband went on trial for the murder, and it took 3 trials. You know,
Mhm.
so there are times though when prosecutors finally just give up. So even a mistrial,
Right.
you know, one mistrial, sure, they're probably going to give it another go round. But if you get another one person, sometimes there's just
Right.
fatigue and it costs money as well. And prosecutors just give
Absolutely.
up. So it
They'll get
can
to
be
the point where they
frustrating.
just kind of throw their hands up and they say, hey, we don't have enough. We can't do it. Yeah, there are some things in our favor, but there's a lot of things that aren't in our favor that we can't prove.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's the story about the boyfriends? As I recall, the father of the late child, it
Mhm.
was not her current boyfriend. It was her ex-boyfriend.
Right.
So what is the
Yep.
status of the current boyfriend at the time and the ex-boyfriend, and where do they weigh in on all of it?
So the ex-boyfriend had no idea at all that she was pregnant. So this was all a very huge surprise to
Mm.
him to find out, hey, guess what? That girl you dated, 10 months ago, 9 months ago, whatever it was, she was pregnant, she had a baby, and the baby's dead, and now we're wanting to do a DNA test and all this stuff to prove that you're the father, and then come to find out you are the father. I have heard from family members of his, and they were devastated. I mean,
Wow.
they had absolutely no clue. They were absolutely heartbroken and devastated. Now, the current boyfriend, I haven't heard anything about him. I don't know if they're still together. Well, I would assume they're not, right? I mean, she can't leave her house. She has to stay at her dad's house.
I mean,
And then,
who knows what their relationship was like? And maybe the pregnancy
right.
happened before they became an item. So it wouldn't be that she cheated on him or anything, but who
Right.
knows?
But I can't imagine what would be like finding out that your girlfriend was pregnant by the man before you, which hey, that happens, but that the baby was born and she allegedly ended his life and then put him in a trash can and then put him in the closet. Like I can't imagine how the current boyfriend felt
Yeah.
hearing all that. And part of me wonders if he knew that she was pregnant because I mean,
How do
how
you,
how could you not? you
you and I
know?
are on the same page. Like, how do you
Yeah, I
not
mean,
know?
yeah, it wasn't one of those like cryptic or back pregnancies, where you can't tell at all. Like she looked pregnant. Like, and I say
Yeah.
that in the nicest way, but like she looked pregnant. Um, and he obviously saw parts of her that nobody else saw. So it really makes me wonder if he had his suspicions about her being pregnant and what she told him. If he
Or
knew.
maybe they had a platonic love affair. Who knows? Everybody's different.
Yeah,
What do we
yeah,
know? Never know.
maybe.
What do we know about Laken's family and how supportive or otherwise they are?
So I haven't heard anything about her parents except for at the very beginning. I guess the dad was very sad and very
Mm.
disappointed in what was going on. But I was told that the mother, um, so Laken's mother, baby's grandmother, was just very cold about all of it. And she had made some comments at, I think it was a funeral that they did for the baby. And I don't remember what those comments were now. I'd have to go back and look. But I remember being told by actually multiple people that were there that she was just very cold, had like this mean look on her face, and almost like, well,
Mm.
Laken was her golden child. Laken was like picture perfect, pageant queen and cheerleader, and just was the golden child. Um, so I don't know if maybe the mom was like, great, now my golden child's in the spotlight and we all look bad and I mean who knows, but I know from, I shouldn't say I know, I was told that Laken's father was very sad and he was heartbroken, but that the mother was not.
It's heartbreaking all around. Look, most people, not everybody who's listening would say there's nothing wrong with having sex. Accidents happen,
Hmm.
disasters can happen after that. People can put their head in the sand and blind themselves to reality. There
Yeah,
can be mental health issues that go along with that. And I don't doubt that there are a lot of mental health issues that go along with young women who find themselves
no,
pregnant and are terrified and
absolutely.
lost and don't know what to do. But all the judgment falls on the girl, doesn't fall on the boy who was also in that relationship. Just all
Yeah.
falls on the girl, everything, the weight of it all. So it's just something to keep in mind as you know, many people pass judgment very, very quickly. And we all need to walk in those shoes before we pass every piece of judgment. Not to say some isn't due, but hey, Abby, thank you because I know you're like rushing out and you've got a million things
Okay.
ahead and you squeezed us in. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks
And
for having
P.S.
me.
Nurse Abby,
Yeah.
still
Yeah, I
impressive.
know a lot of
Thank
people think I
you,
do this full time, but no, I'm a nurse. But I love
girl.
it, and thank you so much for having me on.
All the reasons that I love you even more. Thank you.
You.
So there you have it. We'll continue to watch this case because for one, I'm with Abby. I think there may be a deal offered in this case. I can't imagine this going to trial. It's too risky. Sure, I can see evidence that could lead to a conviction, but I can also see a lot that wouldn't. And if you're the prosecutor in this case, they don't like going to trial if they don't think they can win. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. And don't forget, if you haven't already, hit subscribe. It's really big for me. I appreciate it. And remember this, the truth isn't just serious. It's drop dead serious.